and Nathan Sharp was leading the court session. I just got a beer and just poured all over my hand. A cat was standing there, and I've just come like just wound up, just went, and then cat's just gone. I've hit him a bit thick on the palm of the hand, out.
This is the Aussie Rugby Show, brought to you by Extra Hop. Stops breaches 84% faster. I'm Louise Ransom, joined as always by Drew Mitchell, Stephen Hoyles, Sean Maloney. How are we doing?
Very well. This week, Lou, we are at Rugby Australia, but we're guests of the Rugby Club here in Sydney. Yep. Set up many, many years ago, formerly down near Circular Quay. Actually was where the World Cup was conceived. And now they are, well, the archivists of a bunch of classic stuff, including this, Lou, 2007 jersey, includes the signatures of Drew Mitchell and Stephen Hoyles both. So they've got this amazing memorabilia now stocked here at Rugby Australia, and they're all about giving back to the grassroots, doing great things, Lisa, and the crew at the Rugby Club.
Yeah, look at the museum here. It gives you a history of Australian rugby from start to finish. Lots happened here, hasn't it, Sean?
Bit going on.
Bit going on, yeah.
Plenty going on. Sorry, guys, I'm coming off a pretty long weekend, so you're going to have to carry me through this one a bit.
Standard.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
What's the difference? Is your life's a long weekend, Drew Mitchell.
Nice for some. OK, let's talk about weekends. What got you over the weekend, Hoylesy?
Look, I took in some action from the Premiership, and I happened to notice the assistant referee catching himself on the big screen. You see that one, guys?
I did
so
see
he
that.
saw himself. He went in to make some sort of get himself on TV, basically. Then what he saw, he wasn't happy with, so he went with the old suck the belly in and try and look about 10 pounds lighter. I think we've all been there and done that on the big screen at some stage. I used to actually puff my shoulders out to look bigger, but you probably did the same as old mate up in the north.
I'm trying to do it now. What got me was seeing some of our Aussie rugby girls go play in the NRLW over the weekend, and they just, for me, they stood out. Charlotte Caslick was best on ground in her first ever game of rugby league. Few hard carries early just to get a bit of the feel for it, but then after that just was finding space, scoots out a dummy half, like she was a threat. And also like zero missed tackles, she just did so well. Elliot Green played well. You know, like all the girls that went over there from rugby represented themselves and our game like so well.
Mine was completely outside of on the field. It was off, and I was watching a couple of the All Blacks at the Mitre 10 Cup game, getting spooked by bees. So Dave Rennie, all he needs to do this weekend, unsettle Caleb Clark, or Tidu and the rest of the gang, just roll out a hive. Take a hive to Wellington, and the Wallabies will win by 40, maybe 50. I've never seen Caleb Clark move that way in the other direction from contact.
Which Wallaby player you reckon would be most likely to take a handful of bees out their container?
Taniela Tupou. Bees.
Or Lockie Swinson.
Old B-boy.
Yeah. He wouldn't feel the bee sting.
He wouldn't. Lou, anything take your fancy?
So the Springboks game over the weekend just basically looked like they hadn't played for a few months, let's say that. Argentina, though, on a plane out here for Australia. Who knows how long they have to quarantine when they get here, but they're on their way, which is a great thing.
Yeah, like we always assumed that the South Africans and the Argentinians were going to need some warm-up games, and that's exactly why, because they look rusty, and we were rusty in the first couple of rounds of Super Rugby AU, so they've had a longer period out of rugby than we have.
Given that, is there a chance that perhaps Argentina might have another game like they did against Randwick down at Coogee or something in the lead up? Is there time for that? Or
there would be time for
bubble issues.
That would be the only issue.
You can't go taking a bunch of reprobates into an international. Who knows where they've been?
Yeah, they'd end up like Sale. The whole squad will have it. Sale over UK. So
So
I think they'd be looking for a
nice,
game, but COVID will be the thing that stops it. But on the flip side of it, they're just going to have some really high intense training sessions.
Opposed sessions. Maybe they should open those up and let people go and watch those as well. It'd be quite cool.
Well, it's back around the world in 80 seconds. Shawnee, what have we got this week?
Yeah, time again for our global recap on the social media front. We're sticking mostly close to home right here. You're going to start the watch again. Really went quick. Guys, it's Taniela Tupou and Rob Valentini playing a little bit of scaresies over there in quarantine. I love this from Valentini.
There'll be a lot of that
going on. Dropped his milk, was it?
Yeah, spilled the milk.
Spilled milk. But this is Thor. This is Thor going at Paisami in full-on garb. this gets great. I'll let you talk it through, Hoyles. Look at the reaction. He strokes his arm.
Heavily asleep.
He's a deep sleeper.
He's a deep sleeper.
He'd be on the sleepers.
It might actually be like a jet lag type of scenario. Yeah. He's got the earphones in as well.
His foot comes out.
Everything that Thor touches, everything that Thor gets his hands on is funny, including this on Laniki Tau. Wait for it coming through. Oi! And
what I'd like to see is how long people have taken to set these things up. This could be James
O'Connor.
Oh, amazing.
NBA Finals time, fitting. And then Cade
Walhunter. Yeah,
that's right. Playing with his childhood hero, Eldon Yanchis. There he is as a ball boy for Eldon. It's a lovely touch across the weekend.
It's nice seeing those little photos pop up every now and then, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you ever remember a Wallaby that came to your school or anything like that?
No, my school got the opportunity to go and train with the Reds, and I was. I had Mark Connors. I had to stretch his hamstring back there. He just went there to stretch them.
Buzz.
I just remember his boot being about this long, and I'm trying to get his toe down. Yeah. And he had all these, his big studs and stuff, and I just was like, wait, I can't. I just knew he wasn't getting any sort of a stretch from what I was giving him. But those little memories, as a kid, you just, like, no matter how big or small, it stays with you. So.
Who was the one guy when you were a kid that you got to either be around in that sort of situation or train with that you then got to play alongside?
I think Finnegan.
Finnegan,
Yeah, because he had an associate with
Ramwick.
Yeah, and he was one of my good mate, Pat Phibbs. He married his sister, so we kind of got to see him, and then you actually got to see the personality behind it, and that was awesome.
Actually, one other, it's a bit off script, it's rugby league, but I remember tons of Carroll came down to my rugby league. Just big Tony Carroll. And inadvertently put a massive shot on a young kid. Like when, you're sort of like, you're playing a game, whatever, and he just couldn't stop his momentum, and then this other kid just...
Like Boris Johnson?
Bowled him up. Boris Johnson.
And from that point, I was like, Tony Carroll, and then obviously watching...
That's where you got your big hits from?
Yeah, that's where I got my big shoulders from.
You, Sean?
Classic, hard to say.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Good little segment, though.
The big stories across the week. New Zealand Rugby dumps the idea of Pacifica side. Huge news from across the ditch, and the Pacifica sort of group are not happy about this at all. Hoylesley, what do you make of it all?
Yeah, I find it a little bit odd at the moment. That I can understand for next year that they might not want to progress with it because there's still a fair bit of uncertainty, but I think everyone is agreeing that we need a Pacific side in the combination of an Australian-New Zealand competition. Like, there's no doubt about it. I'd really like to see them based in the Pacific. I don't like the idea of people talking about them based in Western Sydney or in some part of New Zealand.
That's what they've come out to say, the Pacifica group, that they would prefer to be based in Western Sydney now. And you imagine commercially that's going to be a big...
Yeah, I'm still not convinced Western Sydney is going to be the right place for it. I think the Drua, if I'm looking at it and you want successful competitive teams, I think the Drua is the one you've got to go with, because they're a side that's come out and they've been the best side in the NRC in the last 2 years. I do find it really odd that they're now saying that they wanted 3 teams and it's all about competition, and they're talking to the Western Force only. Like, let's be honest, Western Force... Yeah, they're talking to the Western Force because of Twiggy's money. That's the only reason they're talking to the Western Force. They haven't won a game in the Super Rugby AU, so they're not the best side in Australian rugby. They're going to need a lot of work.
We would have to cut 2 sides from Super Rugby AU to be part of their comp.
I find how they're approaching it the last couple of weeks, I feel as though it's the new administration in New Zealand Rugby are trying to sort of stamp their authority, and I don't think they're making the right calls at the moment.
They're talking about it being about competition, and any team that joins their competition has to be at a certain level, but then they talk to, like you say, Twiggy Forest Western Force, South China Tigers or Dragons or whatever they are. But that was also a team that Twiggy's got a link with, in that sort of rapid rugby competition. So they're saying it's about competition, about the level of play, but really it's about cash. Yeah, like that's what it is. Like, just come out and say it.
If they want to, let's be honest, and we've said this, we've all had a chat on how many sides we think Australian rugby should have, but. The only way this would be successful is if Australian rugby and New Zealand rugby get together, put all their issues aside and go, what's going to be the best competition?
Have a big lock-in.
I'd like to mediate that.
You'd like to mediate it?
100%. I'd say sit down. I'll get some pizzas.
Everyone take your shoes off.
Who wants cheesy crust?
Yeah.
Who wants a cheesy crust?
Everyone wants cheesy crust.
Get your shoes off, let's sit around and let's nut it out. I mean, it would be so more beneficial for everyone, surely, if next year we can have a situation where it's 5 and 5.
Don't go down to 5 and 5. Chat again, please, Sean.
No, I'm telling you.
We can't have 5. If we have 5 and 5, it's not going to be fair.
They're going to take the South China Lions.
Yeah, I think.
But maybe our
five
fifth might be Fiji and Drew or something, like in terms of if there's 5, but still
That's
have
right.
a complement
There you
team.
go.
It
If
may
they
not
wanna
be
go
Western
over there,
Force,
we'll
it
get
might
it-
not be
we'll get
something
a
else.
fifth
But
one.
Look how well supported the Ndrua was when it was
Absolutely.
in NRC. That was so fun to go to those games.
It didn't matter
They
where it
turned
was.
out.
If it was in
Didn't
Fiji,
matter.
if it was in
and they
Western
also
Sydney.
proved that they could travel and still maintain.
We'll be
a
right
level
for
as
next
well.
year.
So what are you thinking? 5 New Zealand, 4 Australia, and 1 Fiji? Is that what you're thinking?
Like we said last week.
you
Yeah.
thinking? Yeah.
Away we go.
So you want to get rid of an Australian side? You've just said that, I think.
No, I didn't. I didn't all say that. Not at
So,
all.
but just going back to the Pacifica group, though, the word arrogance has been thrown out towards the New Zealand rugby sort of setup at the moment. Is that fair, do you think?
Well, we don't understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes. There's not just one Pacifica group. You've got to remember there's a Pacifica group and then there's also the Kanaloa Hawaiian group, which is, there's an ownership, which is, a lot of the ownership is actually a lot of the past All
Former
Blacks,
All
like
Blacks, yeah.
Jerome Kano,
Tinga.
John Afoa, those sort of
think
guys.
Niamh
There's a
Tialara,
fair
I
few of
think,
those
also
guys involved. So
I feel like it's across the board, though, because we've had the South African rugby decide they're going to go north and they cited arrogance from New Zealand rugby. Australia, obviously, having their issues, and Hamish McLennan said that the relationship between the two organisations across the ditch is at the lowest ebb.
Yeah.
That was the quote from last week. And then you've got this come out. New Zealand rugby are not doing things well at the moment in terms of the relationships with the people that were and should be partners in all of this, like you said, Sean.
yeah, they're not getting very many votes back home as well. And the pressure rate over there, there's a lot of people coming out and saying, like, we don't need to do it this way. And, like, again, you separate the All Blacks from New Zealand rugby as you do with Rugby Australia and the Wallabies. And I do think that New Zealand rugby, as I said, it's a new administration. Steve Chew's resigned, there's a new CEO there, and it's probably a testing out period. And there is certainly some decisions being made over there that
Could you imagine being in the PR team? You wouldn't get much sleep at the moment.
No, it's been a tough few months from over there.
Yeah, PR side, whatever side you sit on, it's just, like we said it last week, too much of it's too public, too much of it's just not done correctly in the sense that they get on the same page before they maybe release a joint statement as opposed to having one and then 7 minutes later someone else being upset, then someone else calling someone arrogant. It's a bit like name calling, it's a bit schoolyard for me, and it's
all played out
not what we
publicly.
expect from these professional organisations. Just get it sorted, let the boys play and get on with it.
Time for the check-in where we head to Wallabies camp and see what's happening there. We'll go across the ditch, of course, and we're going to talk to Matt Phillip, who's been kind enough to join us. Guys, I'm going to FaceTime him. That's what we do here on the Aussie Rugby Show. So, Matt, first up, what's it been like being in the first camp with new Wallabies coach Dave Rennie?
Hey guys, thanks for having me, first of all. It's been really exciting. There's a lot of excitement in the air. There was a bit of unknown first off the bat, but I think everyone's really took to the messages he's trying to sell to us. And there's obviously been a lot of hard work, but a bit of fun at the same time. So I'm pretty excited for the first game this week.
Matt, it's Drew Mitchell here. Bear with me. I'm a little bit under the weather, you could say, from the weekend. But, mate, I just want to know what you guys have been doing to keep yourselves entertained in quarantine in a little bub over there while you're preparing for the Bledisloe.
There hasn't been too much downtime at the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of knowledge that we've had to get over, a lot of new structures, a lot of new line-outs as well. But there's been little periods for a bit of handball here and there. A couple of the boys can play guitar. Harry Johnson-Holmes, he's not pretty, but his voice is beautiful. So I've been really enjoying listening to him sing me to sleep.
Yeah, nice.
Hey, Matty Halsey here. You announced a few months back that you're heading over to France, and that's still the case, we believe. Been back in the Wallabies squad after a couple of years out of it. Does that make you feel like you want to get back here and give yourself another chance when this contract in France is up?
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, I'm only going to France for a year, and my intention was to go there to try and get myself back into this squad, improve my game around my set piece, and some of the things over there that the European style rugby is really known for. So if all goes well, which I'm hoping it will be, I'd love to come back and be a part of this environment. I'm loving my time so far. Hopefully I can make a good impression and they'll want me back.
And Matty, without giving away too much ahead of the weekend, what sort of style can we expect from you blokes? Will it be fast and loose or a little tighter?
I think it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting, Sean. I don't want to say anything wrong here, but it's going to be a great game to watch, as they always are. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited as well. Thanks so much for your time, Matt. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to all the boys on the weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Let's continue the Bledisloe chat as we move into the weekend, and we're going to talk about maybe the style of play, guys. I want to know, is it a good idea, a bad idea? Let's say safe as a bank and or risky business. So we're going to answer it like that. First up, Wallabies style of play. Is it going to be free-flowing, or is it going to be, you know, a little bit tighter potentially?
Can I just say how excited I am to have Test match footy on?
Yeah.
Like Bledisloe's on this weekend. How good's that?
Yeah.
Normally it's back in, August, September. A little later in the year. We get to kick back on a Sunday afternoon.
See, COVID hasn't been all that bad, Sean.
Oh, I know. Like I'm up for it this weekend. Like Sunday Arvo footy. Wow.
Yeah.
Fast pace.
But going to
tries.
that, I think they'll probably play a bit more structured.
Okay.
We won't be seeing them play everything out of their own half, out of their own 22. I think they'll have a little bit more probably control around field position and try and play in the right areas.
Yeah, judging on Super Rugby, if you look at the 310s that are in contention, there's Noah, there's James O'Connor or Will Harrison. They all played a relatively strong kicking game with their provinces this year, so I think we're going to see a little bit more kicking out of their own end. And again, I think they'll rely hopefully on a bit of the strength of the Wallabies' last World Cup campaign, which we didn't use enough, was probably our set piece. They grabbed a bit of the Brumby success over the last couple of years, and it was working well for them, but we just couldn't do it for long enough in big games. So I think we'll see them play a little bit more like that.
Which style of Super Rugby team from Australia do you think will most likely be carried into the Test match this weekend? Which of the 5 teams
Halsey
will
would
have
say the
their
Rebels.
trade?
No, they're still around, are they? I would have said, no, it all depends on the 9 and 10 combination. So if they go with Tate McDermott and James O'Connor, and maybe Harry Wilson, you're going to see, and I really would like to hope that they go with combinations in certain positions. Again, if you're going to play a Brumby style of footy, you've got to have predominantly Brumbies players in those key positions. So it all depends on the personnel. But I would personally really like to see the likes of McDermott, Harry Wilson and James O'Connor play together.
Yeah, I think for me the style that the Reds played, I'd like to see them play that type of style this weekend. I think obviously the Brumbies worked, right? There's no doubt in that. They're the most successful side. But I think at times if set piece was getting dominated, they weren't winning lineouts or whatever, then the fullback, they don't have as much of a fullback, because what they do really well. But I think the Reds can change, they can adapt a little bit more, but they've just got to get that little bit better at each of those types of play.
So blooding youngsters like Tate McDermott, Noah Alessio against the All Blacks, is that safe as a bank or risky business?
It's risky business, but at the same time, I think we need to select a side that has points in them. If you're looking at how we can turn the Wallabies around, you've got to go with points in your side, because you can hopefully teach individuals and teams strong defence, good work ethic, courageousness, all that sort of stuff. But it's very hard later in your 20, 25, whatever, to install genuine attacking threats, and I think if we go with points, we can work well with that stuff.
I think for too long we've picked a side to defend the All Blacks as opposed to making them defend us. And back in the day when they had Sonny Bill, it was all about who we're going to pick in the centres that can shut him down, or who we're going to partner up, or where we're going to hide the 10 so that we can defend the All Blacks, rather than going, you know what, let's pick a team that's full of threat, that can go that their X factor that they're going to have to defend. And I think we've got that with, the Dungunus, the Kirabetis, there's just so many players now that have got that little bit of X factor, that little bit of something else that's going to make the defence of the All Blacks make a question. Answer a question.
It's going to have to, because in the last 4 years or so, it's something like 35 points.
That's what
the All
that's
Blacks
exactly.
have
I was going to ask how many points
It's got to be 30.
30 plus?
And what we're fortunate enough this weekend is hopefully, the big thing against the All Blacks is when you play over New Zealand, you can train all week and it can turn around and rain 2 hours before game day, and your tactics have to be able to change. So you've got to be able to play a variety of different game styles against them.
Yeah.
But on a day game, Sunday, let's hope it's good conditions. We're going to see lots of points. But that's probably, if you're looking at the difference with this new Wallaby side in the last 5 to 10 years, is we need to be able to play different styles of footy.
Gone but not forgotten, where we take the time to remember our favourite rugby players for their efforts both on and off the field. Drew, who we got this week?
We've got the Catman, Benn Robinson.
Catman do.
Catman. He's
I'm the cat, man.
yeah.
Boom.
I tell you, I used to
boom,
love
boom.
Lottie Takiri. Like Lottie loved calling out Catmandu, didn't he? Got a lot of. He gave a lot of people a lot of fun times, Benny Robinson.
Benny obviously known for his scrummaging and the sort of the play around the type, but he always seemed to
better
find
than that.
himself. Yeah, but he always seemed to find himself in some open space, and it was always like, look, it was great, but it also gave you a little bit of a chuckle every now and then, like when you're sitting just like and having no idea, like what do I do, like in that.
It's when you
stage.
appreciate your job, when you see like a world-class prop
Yeah.
break through the line and you're 20 metres behind him just giggling to yourself, like admiring his
legs.
crafty touch. No, like he was really
soft
good,
hands,
soft
yeah.
hands. And
I've just had a flashback. I went into yarn with him maybe 09, 2010, so that would have been early days Wallabies, I'm guessing, for him. Got me to his house down near the airport, Inner West, and remember he used to have a book where he'd take notes on his opposing props.
Yep. Did it from early 2004
So he'd
and
study
stuff onwards.
guys and he would make notes. And I said to him, oh, can we go into your bedroom and check out your book? He goes, you want to come to my bedroom? He goes, oh, no, that's not going to happen. So that was the first part of the story. And then the second part was going to be, because he's a mad foodie as well.
Yeah.
We went to a place, at the Cat, we went to Black Bottle Bay together, and he realised quickly at this fancy seafood restaurant, it was game on, he could order what he wanted, and man, could he go. It was like Alaskan king crab.
Yeah, he's known for his
lobster.
chili mud crab.
There you go.
He gets the boys around all the time just to cook up some chili mud crab. But
he was a restaurateur out of the touring
Yeah.
group. If you wanted to go for a nice dinner any time midweek, you'd go with Cat.
He's got a wine cellar in
does.
his house.
Cellar
doesn't
Cat.
he?
That was also
Cellar Cat.
He's fitted full rugby team in that wine cellar once. It's only small.
There was one court session at the back end of a tour at Cardiff, and Nathan Sharp was leading the court session. And I'd got fined for something. I sort of said something which is probably inappropriate towards Benn Robinson. And then they got me up to have a drink, and they said, Drew, Benny gets to face tan you, like just
Slap you on the face.
full open, like hand slap across the face as punishment. And I was like, Sharp, you're kidding. Like it wasn't worth that, surely. Like, I'll have a beer, but it's not worth that. And he's like, no. And so I stood up in front of the circle, and because Cat doesn't have the biggest hands, but he's just kind of, he's come back.
A lot of girth though in his hand.
And he goes, but Sharpie said to me, he said, look, I'll give you right a reply no matter what. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so then I stood there and I just, chin out and just he slapped me and I was just like, filthy, right? And I'm waiting for Sharpie to go, all right, Drew, write a reply. And I was walking back to my seat, nothing. And I'm starting to fume at this point. And I just go to sit down and Sharpie goes, nah, that was shit. Drew, you get to write a reply. And then I went, oh, we're on here. I just got a beer and just poured all over my hand. Cat was standing there. And I've just come, just wound up, just went, and then Cat's just gone. I've hit him a bit thick on the palm of the hand, out. Just like asleep.
For a guy that's never thrown a punch in
I
his
know.
life, you've hit a lot of teammates, Drew.
Did you draw Wycliffe Parlour as
Parlour,
well?
who else?
Yeah, actually, this is
Curly?
But yeah, just hit him a bit thick with the palm, and Cat went for a little snooze.
Catnap.
Why'd you pour beer on your
Oh,
hand?
just because it
more.
just
really?
slips me like it slaps a bit
You
more.
guys are too
Mental
much.
note.
Or you sitting in an esky with ice for a bit.
is legit.
Yeah. The Punisher did. The Punisher was the
But he was
fan.
also like, he always was up for anything. 2012, I was injured for a long time through my ankle and had a bit of time on my hands, and so I thought, let's do like our own take on that flash dance commercial for like the
Carlton United or whatever it was.
Carlton United Breweries, and we got Cat in a little leotard with a headband. And,
Was it little?
It wasn't a little leotard.
cute.
Yeah. It was myself, I think, Helen Go, Benny Mullen. We were
right,
sort of the
guys were there.
interviewees.
I think Burjo was there with you as well.
was there.
Yeah.
And so, he just committed to it. It was so good. And
It's one of the great clips.
I mean, even like some of the, the All Blacks, they used to mock up those All Black skills.
Yep.
We did like a bit of a piss take one, and they, to catch a sausage, and we just throw about like 10 kilos of sausages, sauce all over. So he was always up for anything for the boys to have a bit of a laugh.
He's played about, I think it's 60, maybe 70 tests, and like seriously good player. At one stage, probably the best loose head in the world. He never played in a World Cup though. He had injuries.
Yeah, he did his knee just before at
11
at the camp. And,
Yeah.
down at Coogee.
Yeah, like a seriously good footy player.
Most capped Waratahs alongside Kurtley Beale as well. They're both on the same amount. So he played plenty of footy. I think maybe it was an eye injury at the end.
Yes,
Made him stop. So
I haven't seen him lately because he's got 3 boys under the age of 2.
yeah, just had twin boys after
So he's a little bit busy at the moment.
Definitely not forgotten.
Time to dive into the Aussie Rugby Show mailbag, brought to you by Extra Hop. Visit extrahop.com. Guys, this week plenty happening on Twitter.
Did you just slur the X in extra hop there?
No, I've been up for a long time though.
You've been up since
got a
4.
full-time job.
What have you got for you? Oh, that must be nice.
I've been up for a long time too.
Yeah,
What have you got as your
different
first-
reasons.
What have you got for your first
We're going to talk about the
question, Lee?
caterpillar, Sean. A question from John Shadlow on Twitter. Why don't more refs come down on the caterpillar like Owens? Why do teams try and come up with such negative play?
Look, it's within the laws at the moment. That's why
Yeah.
referees don't come down on it. I don't dislike what Nigel Owens did, but he actually went outside the laws. You're allowed to do what the team was doing.
No, he said use it.
Yeah.
They didn't use it, and he nailed it.
Yeah, but
That's what happened.
technically they had shoulders on hips, so they had done everything right.
No, at the base of the ruck, if the ref says use it, you got to use it.
Yeah, I get that, Sean.
Yeah, but it kind of it took it in his own hand a little bit. He obviously doesn't like that part of it. He sees it as negative play.
We don't like it either.
We don't like it, but it's not up to Nigel Owens to change the rules of World Rugby at the moment. That is something that
No,
you
but
can
that was
do.
the rules.
What?
You have to use it. If it's at the base of the ruck and the ref says use it, you have to use it.
Yeah, but you're allowed to set up that thing. That's the
Yeah,
reason.
but
why.
he's just said it earlier because
You
he-
like the caterpillar?
No, we
No,
don't
I
like,
like
we
it.
don't
I
like
like
the
it all.
caterpillar. But
Hate the animal.
there's a movie called The Human Centipede. You should watch that. But it's not up to
That
Nigel.
sounds dark.
It's not up to Nigel Owens to go out of the realms of the World Rugby officiating rule book.
No, but he didn't go outside of it.
No, he went too early. Like, if he had this, it's got to be consistent. If the ball's available at that quick a time, he's got to say use it then at every ruck. It's just he did it at that one because it was the
Made an example.
The caterpillar.
I like that.
Yeah.
Caterpillar.
Yep.
Good one. Luke Barrow getting around us once again. He says, another week, another question. Who's the absolute key player to shut down for Bledisloe 1? And yes, there are many. Go.
Drew?
whoever they play at 10, I'd say Mo'unga or Barrett.
Yeah, I'll go with the 9. Aaron Smith or TJ, I'm assuming it'll be.
Yeah.
All 23.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. Sean, so Jimmy Robertson has really achieved here. He's got 3 questions.
He went berserk on
He
Twitter.
did, yeah.
We don't give him all 3.
No, we're giving all 3.
We're running
No,
tight
I
for
like
time.
it. No,
We're
they're
running
good,
tight
they're
for
good.
time. They're shit
I'm the
questions.
boss here.
No, there's good ones in there from Jimmy Ryan.
Yeah, Sean.
JR, what's he got?
Name your favourite Kiwi Heartland Championship matchday experience.
Oh, no, hang on a second. They do it so well over there. I'll go back to 05 when I was playing over there in the Hawke's Bay.
It's Bledisloe, we can
You know
talk
what they
about
do?
it.
They look after you. So village footy over there, you rock up, you play your game, they'll put a stew on for you, throw you a couple of crates of tui. I love that about how they do it there. We could learn a bit on this side of the Tasman.
Okay,
Next question. Next.
Drew, who's the best Kiwi winger you've ever marked?
Rocket Thoko.
Okay, short and sharp. Jimmy doesn't like you, didn't give you a question, but he gave me one.
Happy with that. I don't like Jimmy.
Or his questions.
Louise, how painful is it to host this show with these blokes? Rate from 1 to 10. I couldn't even put that on that scale. Let's say...
Individual. Go individual.
No, we don't have time. It takes way too
Sean
long.
leaves the WhatsApp group once a week. There's always a blow up once a week, so...
Yeah, at that point in time...
Sean's the Ellen
that's
DeGeneres
it,
of the group.
Yeah. That's so accurate.
How many times have you left the WhatsApp group, Sean?
Once.
This week. I'm not saying this week, I'm
What,
talking
once
overall.
in general? I told you I watched the Social Dilemma.
No,
I
no,
needed
no,
a
no.
cleanse.
It's Ellen
This
DeGeneres
is
behaviour, Sean, and it needs to stop, and I'm glad we're in it here. Okay? We'll see you on the line.
Bit unpacked there.
Okay, that's it. Aussie Rugby.
That's it.
Show
Why are
round
you
back.
saying
That's
that
it.
I bully staff? We don't
Still
even have
going.
any staff. Outside of Knee Boy who does everything on his one little peg leg, there's no one here for me to bully.
You're just an emotional roller coaster at the moment, Sean.
That's true.
We love you though,
Timings,
it's okay.
run sheets.
Can we get tips before we go very
Oh,
quickly?
go. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen the side yet, so that goes a bit into it. Yeah, I'll throw it out there. I'll go heart saying Australia by 6, but head saying New Zealand by 5.
So which one are you
I'm
going?
going to go between the head and the heart. I'll go through the larynx.
We've
and
got a
I'll
whole lot of
go
time, so just keep padding out. That's great.
Wallabies to win.
By 2.
By 4.
By 5.
Boom.
Okay, like it. Thanks for your company for another episode of the Aussie Rugby Show. Thank you to you, Sean Halsey, Drew Mitchell. Make sure you get around us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're everywhere on the socials.
We're a podcast too.
We're a Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a big listener, big
Yep,
fan of the
love
podcast. Guys, get around us. We'll see you next time.
Ellen, really?